Welcome, welcome, Rotary Club members of Cincinnati, our visitors and guests. We are so glad that you joined us this week. You know, our world-class zoo is known around the world as much for its horticulture as it is for its wild animal conservation and preservation. We're going to get educated about that today, but let's kick off our meeting as we always do with the national anthem led by Stephanie Shear and Janet Metzlar. Thank you, Stephanie and Janet. Jane McKeechin, will you lead us in the invocation and four-way test?
Please pray with me. Dear Lord, today we thank you for the shining examples of our Rotarians, working and organizing locally for every weekend to improve the lives of others, for those who shine, organizing a wonderful Rotary Do Days event, for those who shine with coffee hours, recognizing important events in our Rotarian lives, for those who shine in sponsoring our Thursday luncheons. And thank you for those who shine with our World Community Service by helping vastly to make a difference globally. And thank you for those who shine locally by working diligently to make children happy and amazed at our Condon School function. And we especially thank Steve Foltz for our zoo and botanical gardens, one of the country's best shining examples. Bless us, Lord. Make us all shine today. Amen. And now for the four-way test of things we think, say, and do every day. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it be goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Thank you, Jane. You may be seated. And a person who is always thinking about, is it beneficial to all concerned? There's a global program called Invest in Others, and they have an award that they recognize financial advisors who are doing charitable work around the country. Our very own John Farmeyer has been recognized this year with that program as the honorable mention for the lifetime achievement work that he's been doing. That award program made a donation to the Rotary Foundation in John's honor. Let's give him a big round of applause. So our birthdays today, Ed Devoid is celebrating his birthday today. Ed, happy birthday. And then next week, our Sergeant at Arms, Nancy Reese, will be celebrating her birthday. And Nancy, will you introduce our visiting Rotarians and guests?
Thank you, President Doug. It's always exciting to have people visit our wonderful club, and especially those who are planning on joining our club. So first of all, I would like to introduce, and if you would please stand up when I call your name so we all can say hello to you. Michelle Hanovan. Michelle is here with Jessica Stiritz, And Michelle is looking to become a new member and going through, come on, brain, classification. Thank you today. See, that's what happens when birthdays come along. Welcome, Michelle. Next we have Javon Marbury, and he is a guest of Michael Schatzman's, and he is also going through classification today, so welcome, Javon. And then we have Laura Walke. I told you I was going to mess up your first name, and I messed up the last name. Sorry, Laura. And she is a guest of Janet Metzler's, and she is also going through classification today. And then we have Tanya Zumbiel. Tanya is a former Rotarian that is looking to come back and join us. So we're excited about that. And Tanya, I love the name of her company. It's called Steambunk. And I even have my glasses on. And so we're happy to have you back, Tanya. Thank you. And Michael is her sponsor for that, Michael Schatzman. And last but not least, we have Brandon Lanehart. And Brandon is a guest here of his wife, Caitlin, who is also looking to become a member. So welcome, Brandon. Is Cachet here? Okay, I was just going to say, is Cachet here? So, and it's Cachet Lowry. Where is Cachet? There she is, I'm sorry. And Cachet is a guest also of Michael Schatzman's, and she is here going through classification today. All right, thank you all for being here and bringing your guests.
Yes, and are you doing that or is Nancy doing it? You are, awesome, excellent. So Janet Metzler is going to give us an after hours announcement. Janet.
Okay, how many of you ever been to an after hours, a Rotary after hours? Okay, so a lot of you know the drill, but some don't. So let me tell you how it works. We have found over the years that our meetings are so full that we often don't have a chance to really visit and get to know each other. So several years ago, we started this idea of having guests come to our own homes and bring something to share, and you have a chance to really get to know your fellow Rotarians. So this year, I'm hosting it at my house next Friday. That's Friday the 13th. And so get it on your calendars. I'll tell you the address quickly. It's 1525 Woods Trail Lane in Loveland. For West Siders, please, come on over, you know? We know you can make it. So, and I have found that it takes 20 minutes to get any place in Cincinnati, wherever you're coming from. So it's the Ward's Corner exit off 275, and it's in the subdivision, the Woods of Miami Trails. So please come. Now, I was talking with Stephanie last night at the World Affairs fundraiser, and she said she was coming, but then she told me she hadn't figured out her costume yet. And I said, oh, that's it's a costume party. That's a good idea. So anyone who is in the spirit, who feels so inclined, you're welcome to come attired in the costume of your choice. And but if you don't, costumes are optional. But your presence is something that I care about. So I would love to see new members who I don't know very well, old members who I feel like have been my buddies for years. And if you're traveling, you have family obligations, you have other important things to do that instead, okay? And it won't hurt my feelings. But if you can come, please come.
Thank you, Janet. So Friday the 13th at Janet's house. On Saturday, October 14th, you have an opportunity to do a hands-on service project at Roberts Academy in Price Hill in combination with the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. Please sign up for that using the link in your e-raise. And as I mentioned last week, at our meeting next on October 19th, we're going to be eating cookies, okay? So make sure you buy those cookies in advance from Mary Brandstetter. The purchase of every cookie, $2.67 of that cookie goes to the Rotary International Foundation, and the Bill and Melinda Gates are matching that $2.67 one for one. So make sure that you purchase those cookies. Again, this is a Cincinnati effort, Cincinnati Rotary Club effort to make more donations to the Rotary International End Polio Now campaign. And then finally, while we're thinking about our calendars, Janet said it wouldn't hurt her feelings if you didn't come to her house, but it will hurt my feelings if you do not sign up for due days. We have 11 volunteer slots available on Saturday, October 28th. That's some very great projects. We have 65 volunteer slots that are available for Thursday. So there's plenty of opportunity for you in this room, if you have not signed up for due days, to do so immediately. Go to the Rotary Club website, see the event tab at the top, click on it, see the Rotary due days drop down, and there is all the information that you need to sign up and do it as soon as possible. I'm not worried. Volunteers sign up for things at the last minute, but our Rotary committee of due days folks are nervous as hell. So please, stop making them so nervous and sign up. I'm not going to ask the question, how many of you in this room have not signed up yet? I'm not going to embarrass you, even though they wanted me to, but I'm not going to do it. But please do go sign up for those 65 slots on Thursday, as well as the 11 slots that are remaining on Saturday. Now, one of the things, my suspicion is everyone here in this room has signed up, because you've heard us talk about due days so much. But one thing you could do is, you know, some of us old timers remember the Rotary directory that we had. Today's version of the Rotary directory is DACDB. Literally, you can go into DACDB and look at every Rotarian in Cincinnati, look up their phone number, look up their email address. Why don't you reach out to a Rotarian who you have not seen at lunch lately and invite them to attend due days? That's the way that we're going to get those 65 slots on Thursday filled, as well as the 11 slots on Saturday. So do me a favor and don't disappoint me and participate in due days. So 3 years ago, when I started my process to become president, I was elected to be the treasurer and secretary of this fine club. As I got on the board, I realized there's no way for someone to do both the job of secretary and treasurer. So your board ripped those two positions apart and created a separate treasurer. Thank God for Wes Botto, who stepped up and agreed to be our treasurer, and he is today's meeting sponsor. Wes?
Thank you, President Doug. Very happy to sponsor the meeting today, and it's not only because now I can stop feeling guilty when I get the Bob Brandstetter emails about sponsoring a meeting. But in all seriousness, Bob has done a great job, and it really does help the club's finances. So if you have the opportunity to do it, I suggest you take him up on it. So I am co-owner and financial advisor at Hillcrest Financial Group. We are fiduciaries, which that's a funny word, but what that means is that we're required to put our clients' interests first. And of course, that aligns with the club's values. And recently I was talking with a client and Cincinnati Rotarian about how much I enjoy working with Rotarians. And it's not only because all of you are such a good-looking group. Owen, I'm looking at you. But it's also because we share those values. And that's important to me in working with my clients. So if you're in need of a financial planner that's well-versed in retirement income and tax planning, or just want a second look at your existing financial plan, you can send me an email, give me a call. Look forward to talking to you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Wes. Okay, Dan Long, you are our star today, introducing 3 new members. Dan?
Thank you, President Bolt. You're a bolt of lightning today, for sure. You know, the three individuals that I'm happy to introduce today are members of are employees of St. Vincent de Paul. And there are two ways to look at St. Vincent de Paul. One way is to look at what a wonderful organization that it is. But the other way to look at it is really how sad it is that we still have the level of poverty and homelessness that we have here in Cincinnati. But we're very fortunate because our St. Vincent de Paul Society here in Cincinnati is among the largest in the United States. We've been serving Cincinnati for over 150 years. We have over 300 employees, 250 of which work in our 7 thrift stores. Our 7 thrift stores are greatly organized, very well run, and actually provide over $2 million worth of profit that we plow back into our organization to help our neighbors in need. We also have 2 free pharmacies in Cincinnati, and soon to have a 3rd free pharmacy out in Milford. Again, the pharmacies provide tens of thousands of free prescriptions to our neighbors in need. Most noteworthy, however, are the 1,200 Vincentians, and I am one of those Vincentians, who are members of conferences in 56 Catholic parishes across Greater Cincinnati. We make thousands of home visits to our neighbors in need. We provide them with anything from rental assistance to paying the utility bills to providing them with clothing. And most importantly, we pray with them as well. So we bring Christ into their lives, which is a wonderful thing to do. I was actually proud to be the president of St. Vincent de Paul for 6 years, from 2016 to 2022. And I'm very proud that St. Vincent de Paul has become a corporate member of our group. So I have 3 introductions. And the first introduction is actually Caitlin. Caitlin, would you like to stand up? Caitlin is the Vice President of External Relations at St. Vincent de Paul, where she oversees marketing and development. For over 150 years, St. Vincent de Paul has been helping our neighbors throughout Greater Cincinnati, providing innovative, practical emergency assistance to those in need. Prior to St. Vincent de Paul, Caitlin served the community at Women Helping Women, Gilman Partners, and the YMCA of Greater Cincinnati. Before moving to Cincinnati, she spent most of her career in nonprofits, serving children and families in the Midwest, and was named in the top 20 under 40 in Central Illinois for her innovative and collaborative efforts that bridge across sectors for the good of our community. Outside of work, Caitlin is on the board of Hope House and the Healing Center and is a member of Impact 100. She is a mom of 1 with baby number 2 on the way, and is the wife of Brandon, who is a guest of hers today. So please welcome Caitlin. Go ahead, number 2. Number 2, Sunny, would you come to the stage? Sunny Johnson Lane serves as the Chief Services and Strategy Officer for St. Vincent de Paul, Cincinnati. We have served in a variety of roles over the past 5 years. Prior to her work at St. Vincent de Paul, Cincinnati, she was the Director of Conferences and Community Outreach for St. Vincent de Paul, Dayton, and the first Fair Trade Ambassador for the Archdiocese of Cincinnati. Sunny is originally from Massachusetts. She attended the University of St. Joseph, where she majored in history and theology and received postgraduate certifications in values-based leadership from DePaul University and pastoral ministry from the University of Dayton. Throughout her career, Sunny's greatest passion has been walking alongside adults as they grow professionally and personally. Sunny enjoys biking, gardening, and baking. She lives in northern Kentucky with her husband, Doug, and her daughter, Faye. Please welcome Sunny. And last but not least is our CEO, Brad McMonagle. Brad is the current CEO of St. Vincent de Paul after spending 25 years as a leader in behavioral health organizations, most recently at the Talbert House. Graduated from the University of Cincinnati and the Cincinnati Christian University with a focus in behavioral health service. Brad was a former member of the Lebanon Rotary and understands the great work Rotarians do for the local, national, and international communities. A proud father of 2 sons and 1 daughter, and married to Jennifer. Welcome, Brad.
Welcome, new members, and we look forward to welcoming at our member review committee meeting this afternoon, even more new members. So thank you. All right, Owen Ressman, let's introduce our program today. Jane would always remember this, split the pot. That's exactly right. So $43 is today's winner. And the accumulating pot is $893. Steve? 471625. So did you win? You got it? Oh, okay. 471625. 471625. We have it? All right, Uda, pick that Queen of Hearts.
Sorry for the delay. A lot of good things going on at Rotary. You guys should be proud. It's my pleasure today. Steve Foltz, I've known Steve for a while, for about 10 years, and I'm going to let you listen to him and not me, but I do have to say, some of you know I have an association with the Reds Community Fund, and that's where I met Steve about 10 years ago, and we do community makeovers, some major projects in a lot of the urban areas. And the zoo has stepped up in the horticulture department more than anything. And he'll get into this, but you know, a lot of these fields we redo, we do schools, we do playgrounds, and everything around it. And when I first knew that Steve was going to come and bring his people, plants, everything, you know, you think, oh, it's just going to make it look pretty. But what there is really in there is the zoo's ability to want to teach and want to teach us, teach children. You know, it's not just about a plant, it's about the soil, it's about the environment. And I've learned a lot over the last 10 years, and they've been super partners along with Procter & Gamble. It's still ongoing. We may have skipped a year during COVID, but I'm very proud to let you listen to Steve today. So come on up, Steve.
thank you very much. This is a great honor for me to come from a little town called West Covington, Kentucky, where I went to a grade school called St. Anne's. We had 14 people graduate in our class. One of them is Mark Muramito here. So that was a nice surprise to walk in and see one of my grade school pals here. So this is a real honor. So just wanted to share a little bit about the zoo. Of course, everyone knows Fiona the hippo. So my presentation is mostly on the slideshow, so you don't have to look at me, look at the slides. It's required from the zoo that you always have to show a picture of Fiona. And you know, I would, you know, show a little bit about the zoo. We're actually started in 1875, so we're one of the older places in the community. And early on, the zoo started out as an experimental garden, not just a zoo. And so all these things that you're going to see about now has really been laid in place back in 1875. We do one of the largest annual trials, one of the largest tulip displays in the country. We plant over 100,000 tulips a year, and we also flip the beds, and then we do about 60,000 annuals. This annual program that we have is actually basically we trial all the best annuals. This program, 60,000 annuals are actually donated by companies all over the country, and it's a huge program. But we also work with perennials and shrubs, and this is actually just a little pocket park on Vine Street on Belledere and Vine that was 3 vacant lots that we turned into just a community garden. So you're going to see a lot of work. We have 70 acres at the zoo, and for a botanical garden, that's pretty small. So we're actually using lots like this and programs to expand our trials program throughout the community. Obviously, this is our big project right now, Elephant Trek. We're about to bring in elephants and do elephants in a big way. This is our largest project that we've ever undertaken at the zoo, and it is massive. It is unbelievably big. So hopefully next year you'll get to see some of the work completed, and so that's what we're doing as we speak now, getting ready for the pools and getting ready for the elephant habitat. We have started planting, and you know, part of my job, the zoo is very unusual in that we do everything in-house. We do design, we do the soil work, we do irrigation, we do everything in-house. So we actually save an awful lot of money by doing it that way, but the quality is so much better because we have total control of the site. So that's part of what we do in horticulture. We have a staff of there's about 13 full-time horticulturists there. We do everything from collect browse to feed the animals to landscaping to maintenance and to education programs, etc. So this will be our new Elephant Trek garden. Here's some of the trees that are about to go in for the elephant. It's kind of hard to shade an elephant, but we're going to try. The only places that were left were parking lots, so we expanded our parking lots outside the zoo, and then internally that's where the habitat is going on now. So that's about a 23-foot tree that's about to go in the ground here in the fall. So it's a lot of interesting work at the zoo, that's for sure. Here's a gentleman. We're actually getting our elephants from Dublin, Ireland. And
as you continue to explore Dublin,
that's the Cincy family now.
ask you to not feed the animals.
I was able to go to Dublin and meet the elephants and the keeper who has taken care of the elephants in Dublin for the last 40 years. And it was quite an honor. So that family will be joining us at the zoo. Don't pass that around. It doesn't really need to go out. I probably shouldn't even said it here, but that's okay. But that's what one of our jobs is, actually browsing out, all the foliage for a lot of animals. You notice a lot of bamboo at the zoo. You probably don't know that just the red pandas alone eat 2,300 stalks of bamboo. So that bamboo that you see at the zoo is actually food for about 30 of our animals that we feed. This is willow browse that the elephants eat and they're very fond of. And of course, that's all the browse that they didn't eat, so that's going to be a fun thing. So that's the elephant side. And now, this is part of our new parking lot. We just built this in last November. It opened up. This is on Erkenbrecher Avenue. Brand new garden. Now, again, I think we're a zoo. I like to think of it as the garden, and Cincinnati Botanical Garden and Zoo. But don't tell Thane that. So this is what we start with. This was April of this year, and you can see this is a parking lot wide out in the middle of the community, so anyone can come to this area and walk through it without even entering the zoo. So we put in some nice specimens, just a little idea of how we approach a project. And we use machinery a lot to move our soil. That way we don't compact it. And you know, Owen was saying, well, that's one of the things that we try to teach everybody is how to treat the soil. Most of the project that we work on is subsoil. It's not even related to topsoil. So we have to bring in a lot. And of course, with 1.7 million people, we have to stop about 9:30, wait for the kids to come in, and then restart. But this is right there on Erkenbrecher and Vine. So if you haven't driven by this, here's the process. This was about early May, and then we got the soil all put in, the trees put in. Meanwhile, we have a community greenhouse that we grow a lot of our annuals in. We grow all our own annuals. They're donated, the plugs are donated, the pots are donated, soil mix, fertilizer, all that's donated. And then we provide all the labor. But that's what that stretch looks like now. So we did, like I said, 60,000. We're one of the largest annual trial programs in the country. And so these are the things that we do. We work with proven winners, Ball, Pan American Seeds, Cicada, you name a company in the country, in the world that's growing annuals and perennials, and we're probably involved with them. And because of that, we're able to do a lot of things in the community because we have so many connections with that type of thing. So again, people can just meander through the garden, and everything's labeled. So all the now's the perfect time. If you want to know what annuals to put in next year, walk through this garden, and you'll see everything labeled, and you'll see some beautiful plants right now. And here we are in first week of October. So that's when we're happy. We know we've had success. So again, from that to that in one season. But a lot of the things that you may not know that we do, and Owen referenced it, we work a lot with the community. And again, a lot of that is thanks to the Reds Community Fund. And they kind of started us off on, hey, how can you guys collaborate with us? So this is a community park. It's in Irving Park. It's right on Forest Avenue, right across from the Elephant Project. So any project that we do now, we often ask the question, okay, how is this going to benefit our community? And part of this, we got in a grant and there's about 30 trees that went into this park. And, again, here we are drilling a 4-foot hole so we could put a good substantial tree in. And we don't just put any trees in, we put a lot of unique specimens in that we use for trial purposes. But the big project was about 3 years ago, 2021. Luckily, we did have that COVID like stall. And if anyone's familiar with Rockdale Academy, this was 1.5 acres, almost 2 acres of grass. Did not have a tree or a plant in it. And the Reds Community Fund, they chose Avondale as a community. And one of the teachers and the principal said, wouldn't it be nice if we had a little pollinator garden here? And we're like, well, I think we could do better than that. So we took that area that's about almost 2 acres. Here's the area. You can see Children's Hospital in the background. Kind of gives you an idea where it is. It's on the corner of Northern and Wilson. So drive up Northern Avenue right there between Reading and the zoo, and you'll see it right there. So that's what it looked like the first year after. So this is not your typical community garden that's growing heads of lettuce and vegetables. This is really meant, it's a school garden first and foremost. It's a K through 6 school. They can bring their classes in, teach them about pollinators and gardening. But also, it's a community garden. Anyone can walk in. It's open all the time. People can enjoy it in the community, and it's just a beautiful space. But it's also a learning garden. And the learning part of that is that we work with the kids, and actually they have potted up. This was even before the garden went in. They were potting up perennial plugs as we started the project. So by the time, this was in May, by the time they got back in, I guess, August, we had the garden pretty much done. And they were walking around going, oh, I remember planting that. Of course, it was lamb's ears. You know, everyone knows lamb's ears now. But we actually put up 2 Quonset huts. And the Quonset huts were really mainly so we can continue this community project effort. And the idea was we could grow 4,000 to 10,000 perennials. And if you've been to Lincoln Heights, that was last year's project. We did the Lincoln Heights Community Center, and we did the park right across the school, the area. We did the grade school. And all these areas were done with good pollinator, brand new pollinator plants. These aren't leftovers. These are brand new varieties on the market. You can see a lot of proven winter pots there. They're a big supporter of our program as well. And just so you know, the kids they spend one day in the spring and one day in the fall doing work in the garden. And that whole left-hand side, there were 2,000 perennials that they potted up in one day. And so those 2,000 perennials ended up going to Irving Park. And Irving Park, 100 of the kids that go to that school live in that little community called White Oak. And so we thought it would be really nice to do, kind of bring that Rockdale garden to their neighborhood so they can see it all the time. And all the people that live in that community, they get their mail, and this is right next to their mailbox. Jerome Stanger's one of our horticulturists. He's a phenomenal perennial designer. We get people like Groundworks Ohio involved. We had 8 kids from Groundworks Ohio. They're kids in the community that are actually getting paid to work with our department in horticulture. And part of that is to do these plantings. This idea at Irving Park was through the Safe Neighborhoods. The police actually wanted this done. So it was nice to have those Quonsets and have this whole program that we've done at Rockdale ready to roll. So, just doing a planting like that was just like, okay, let's go up to the Quonset, let's grab our plants and let's go. It wasn't that easy, but you get the idea. Lots of fun. So again, a big thank you to the Reds Community Makeover Projects. That's really what started this whole journey 10 years ago. This is the newest one that we did this year. This is actually John P. Parker, which is an elementary right off Red Bank Road, if you've seen that. But this is when we walked it in February, cold day, and we said, oh, what can we do here that would change the lives of the kids? So the first person you need to get on board is the maintenance guy. Not the principal, not the board, no one else. If the maintenance guy's not in, then nobody's in. So we're trying to say, hey, we're going to make your job easier, not harder. We're going to have people coming in. We're going to help with the garden. We're going to make your landscape easier to maintain. Now, whether that's all true or not, I don't know, but we'll see. So here we are. We come in a couple weeks ahead of time and just do some groundwork with equipment, because with 500 volunteers running around that day, you certainly don't want to be running equipment. So some of the things that we came up with, this is called a flowering arch, not a Quonset. They didn't really want anything to grow. So we put in this Quonset and beds on either side, and then they came in. You can see more topsoil. But they installed a Quonset hut. They put up grapevines, and there's vines all on either side. So this is going to be a huge flowering arch for the kids to play. And actually, it's got probably 150 different types of perennials in there too. So they will learn Lots of plants, pollinator plants, perennial plants that are host plants of butterflies. And we're working with Extension, Hamilton County, Ohio State Extension. She just sent me an email today saying they're decorating this and theming it on the Halloween side. So they're using it, they love it, and these are some of the projects that come through. And it's really cool. We made little playground areas, really kind of a fun thing. So that's our third urban learning garden that we did. There's Madison Trees, a big supporter of ours. They were bringing in these giant logs for the kids to kind of play on and climb on. And you can see the solar panels in the background. We try to add solar to every project that we do. And just really have the kids be outside and engaged. It's really tough to be inside of school all the time with nothing good outside. And I'll be honest with you, there have been a lot of schools in the tri-state area, and there's not a whole lot of great landscaping in the schools. It's almost like an afterthought. So we really need to up our game on this. We actually had our career day with some of the Groundwork Ohio folks. There's like 100 kids in the urban community that learned about different things in horticulture, whether it's be a landscaper, be a garden center, a grower, a arborist. We had Madison Tree brought in a thing where they could climb up, in a harness and climb up a tree. I'm sure insurance would not have liked what we did, but the other couple things that we do is we do a lot of research, and not just in perennials, but we also do endangered plant research. Dr. Valerie Pence has been at the zoo close to 35 years, as long as I have, and her work with cryopreservation of endangered species is probably world known. Her biggest project now is you can't freeze oak acorns. So how do you long-term store an oak to preserve its ability to survive? So she takes tissue, meristematic tissue, out of the acorn and freezes it in liquid nitrogen for long-term storage. She is one of the top researchers in the world doing this. So lots of research going on in plant propagation, things like that. We work very heavily with the zoo's best. We have the best annuals, the best perennials, but now we're working on pollinator plants, the best pollinator plants in the country. And how do we develop a program where people can start adding pollinator gardens in their homes, in their communities, in their workplaces? So we have this brochure that kind of tells you the best plants, and it's really spelled out nicely. You want a monarch butterfly, you have to put Asclepias in. If you want a spice bush swallowtail, you need the spice bush. You want a pipe vine swallowtail, you've got to put in the pipe vine. So these are all the things, and all these plants are in these school projects. They have pawpaw. Everyone knows pawpaw. Pawpaw actually is the host plant for the zebra swallowtail. So that is one of the most fascinating black and white butterflies I've ever seen. And it's one of the native fruits of Ohio. So these are all the things that we're trying to teach the kids. And then also, meanwhile, while we're planting these gardens, here's a plant called Hydrangea Haas Halo. You don't think much of it. It's pretty, but but this particular plant has about 7 different types of native bees that come to its flower. So it's one of the highest pollinator visited hydrangea on the market. So these are the things that we're doing research on at the zoo with our Plant for Pollinators program. And we'd like everyone to register their gardens at their work and their communities as plant or pollinator gardens through the Cincinnati Zoo's website. So here's some quick examples of great pollinator shrubs. There's Sunny Boulevard. It's a hypericum, St. John's wort that's beautiful, and bees just absolutely go berserk on that. Really hard to see, but you can hear the monkeys in the background. So you know this is the zoo, not just your average place. So that is one of the fun parts of my job. But it is really quite amazing. These are the things that we do on a daily basis, just finding shrubs, trees, perennials that work in this area, in this soil. And it's not all about just native. Native is excellent, but you certainly love magnolia flowers, and you certainly love tulips and other things. So don't be afraid to plant some non-natives in with your native plants. It's all just getting people out there to garden is different. Here's a button bush. If you've ever been on Lake Cumberland, these are the shrubs that are almost buried in the water. It's a native shrub that absolutely the pollinators love. But here's one called Sugar Shack that's very attractive. But see how glossy that foliage is. So just a little bit better plant. And those are the things that we're trying to trial. Crepe myrtles with red flowers. And there's a bush honeysuckle that's actually a native honeysuckle, not the bad honeysuckle. And this one, there's bees lining up and butterflies lining up to get the nectar out of that plant. It's really an amazing plant. And great fall color. So those are the things that we're working on at the Cincinnati Botanical Garden and Zoo. And Christina Anderson, she's in charge of our travel program. She wanted me to throw this slide in. She's leading a tour to Amsterdam in the spring on tulip season. So anyone wants to join, come along. But really the whole idea of the zoo is to really enrich. One of the big problems that we have is the urban community is just torn up, and we have to somehow figure out how we can interplant the urban community full of great plants so it's not a urban heat island. We have that big problem. We're taking down more trees than we're putting up, and it takes a lot longer to grow trees these days. The soil is much poorer because we're scraping it out and doing a lot of building. And all that's good, but we've got to figure out how to do it right to put it back. Because there's deer pressure, there's people pressure, there's a lot of pressures that are kind of intruding. So how can we make the urban and suburban landscape more like an ecosystem? And how can we do that right? And how can we train the young kids that are coming up to understand that and respect that? Because, we learned that as farming communities. Now we're no longer farming communities. We're urbanites. And, I grew up in a city. I'm not a farmer, although this is my farming. This is my sense of farming. And that's what we're trying to do at the zoo, is to show, hey, it can be done. So when you walk through the zoo next time you come, see how beautiful it is. See how lush it is. And that could be every community in the United States. It could be every community in Cincinnati. And we need to focus. It's not going to be the city street tree planting. It's going to be every one of us in this room doing a lot more. So that's my talk. If you have any questions. Yes.
The last few statements, and I think a lot of people have a misconception that when you create beautiful things in poor or urban neighborhoods, that they would want to vandalize it and all of this stuff. I disagree with that. I think no matter what your social class is, everyone loves beautiful things and they love to live around beauty. Has that been your experience? That was my first question, and then one more. So I was just at the zoo, and I want to know, how much are you involved in the exhibits? So I was in the kangaroo area, which is fabulous. You literally walk through a path, and the kangaroos are right there. Like, you're in with the kangaroos. And then you're walking through the exhibit with the kangaroos, okay? And then to the penguins. Can you talk to me about how you're involved with that too? And if you've seen like Rockdale, if there has not been any vandalism, that kind of thing.
So,
Sorry.
To answer the second question, yeah, we're highly involved from day one. Not just, oh, what are you going to plant in here? But starting out, any site that we start on, we do a walkthrough with the architect and the engineers and say, okay, these are the plants we need to keep. And so that right there has saved us millions of dollars in landscaping. Because if you protect very valuable plants, in fact, a sustainable rating system for trees. So if you're in your yard and you say, oh gosh, you know, all the plumbers and electricians, if you're a plumber or electrician, I love you. But they'll go, oh, we're gonna split that tree and that tree so we don't damage either one. We're like, well, you're gonna damage both of them, no matter what. But this one's a black locust, it's junk, and that's a bur oak. Let's just take that one out and stay well away from that bur oak. But people see a round circle on a drawing and they think they're all equal. So we're trying to come up with a sustainable rating system. So early on in a project, we're working around the things. It doesn't always work, but we are very careful. We're in the design team from day one. But to answer the second part of the question, I think it's a huge, huge question. The vandalism. I think people respect quality. And if you do a kind of a half-baked job, then they're probably not going to respect it. You do a really nice job, and we've had very little, if any, vandalism in 3 years. But it doesn't surprise me. You see that everywhere, not just in the urban settings, but you know. But when I go through schools, you know, whether they're well-to-do communities or poorer communities, honestly, I don't think any of them really do a good job at the landscape side. And it really makes me a little sad. So one of my goals at Rockdale was, I can't wait till the Rockdale students, and they will give you a tour of that garden. And I would give me the top prep school in the world, and those kids at Rockdale would blow them away. And I can, we had a visitor this spring. I was supposed to lead the tour, and all of a sudden these first graders came up. They were eating asparagus, and next thing you know, the tour was gone for me. I wasn't able to lead the tour because these kids were showing me asparagus. Oh, do you want to see the strawberries over here? Oh, we've got some raspberries coming up over here. These are first graders in Rockdale. And they, you know, and then the fall, we had a group from Franklin Park Conservatory, there were 15 teachers that came, and some of the students that were carrying persimmons in their shirt. And they weren't even a part of the tour. They walked by and they said, what do you have there? And they said, oh, these are persimmons that came off those trees over there. So they already know that persimmons come on trees, they're a native plant. They said, oh, you want us to show you the aronia? And I'm sitting there blown away by these first grade, and this happens time and time and time. So I didn't teach them. You know, we built the garden. The garden, you know, we label, and the teachers, you give the teachers space, and they'll roll. There's no doubt about it. So that's what we're trying to do with these gardens. We know the impact now. I don't know how to write it down, but I can see it every day. So will there be vandalism? I'm sure there will be, but that's why we have 2 quants, we'll plant more. So, yeah.
All the Rotary districts in Ohio want to do pollinator projects in the coming Rotary year, which starts in January. In July. My question to you is, there a statewide consortium of organizations, including the Cincinnati Zoo, that can provide technical assistance?
There is now. we would love to be involved. Yeah, absolutely. Because we have seen so many people try, but they skip, oh, we don't have a place to water. I mean, you talk to Charlie Frank at the Reds Community Fund, the first thing he says now, well, if we're going to do a garden, where's the water coming from? Because, you know, if you don't have water, it's not going to go. And then the soil. Well, if you put it in bad soil, what do you think is going to happen? The tree, they're not going to do any good. So if you miss those 2 steps, you might as well not have the garden. So when we do these, I mean, I was just at a garden the other day that did have vandalism. And you know, again, sometimes kids are bored. I get it. But Then they wanted to move the garden behind the fence, way down the road, and it's like, no. It just, this is not that big of a deal. Don't build big beds that people can tip over. You know, put it on the ground. A lot of things that we do in the urban community too is we put big trees in. You know, 10, 15-foot trees. And I've heard people walk by and say, man, I don't remember a tree being there. And they just kept walking. Whereas if you put a little one in that they can grab and throw off, it doesn't live. And deer just knock it over. So there are strategies that we can use in the urban community that are a little different than what most people do. So, yes?
Yeah, first of all, Steve, you made West Covington very proud.
You too, Mark.
Sister Mary Luke, too, is very proud.
Yeah.
But I wanted to know, I remember you were always interested in sports, basketball, but what is your journey to become interested in horticulture?
That's a great question. So it seemed like every time I was walking down the street, I was picking a leaf off a shrub. I don't know what it was. 7th grade, we had to do a leaf collection. And I collected a big leaf magnolia from Pike Street in Covington. You know, the magnolias are that big. And from that point on, I was like, man, this is so cool. And so with that, we have about 250 little big leaf magnolias growing at the zoo at our farm in Boulder, where we grow a lot of these native plants. And part of this mission is to get those big leaf magnolias in all these schools, because that could be, it's not for everybody, but that one person that sees that might go, I want to be outside, I want to help, I want to do this. So that's kind of what got me going. Yes?
Oh, I have a question. When you need to add topsoil, where does that topsoil come from?
Well, that's a good question. It's mined out of, kind of river bottom. A lot of times the gravel pits, they have to get to the gravel, so they mine the soil out of that. And it sounds like, well, that's not native soil. Well, to be honest with you, when you run through construction, so the Rockdale project, we used 88 tandems of soil. That's a lot of soil. But had we not, I wouldn't be here talking about it because it would be a disaster. That was the old playground, it was the old parking lot, was the old school. So when we tried to till the beds, we were just bouncing. So if you didn't add good soil, you probably wouldn't have gotten it to go any farther. So there are a lot of soil companies that bring in soil, just like, where do you get concrete? There's concrete specialty places, and it's like everything else, but people forget about, we'll get plants for free from a nursery, and we'll get, we'll make soil by putting cardboard down and adding compost. There's not enough compost in Cincinnati to even remotely touch this. So that's the part where I kind of rub against a lot of folks that do this, and they want to do it it takes a long time to work it that way. We've got a long way to go, and we got to get there quicker. So.
Well, I got two quick questions. One is, are your Irish elephants Indian or African?
Indian.
And are you aware of the program we're involved with, the CPS Outdoors or Outside program that works with public schools
Yes.
to make students?
I am. They're Indian elephants, and the answer to that, yes. We are aware of the Cincinnati Public School program and the Green Umbrella, and we work a little bit with that. But I don't have a whole lot of time for meetings, and it seems like a lot of meetings going on.
It's relatively new. We just helped them do their first school a couple years ago.
Yeah.
So,
There's a lot of great groups in Cincinnati where Civic Garden Center is phenomenal. All these places are phenomenal. We just have our own little niche, but we are collaborating as much as possible. And in fact, that's the one that had the vandalism. We're helping with that one too.
So Steve, wait a second. Steve, come right back up here. So the best Rotary Club in America has a coin that has one of the most magnificent skylines in America on the front of it, as well as the 4-way test on the back. Thank you for your presentation today. We're also making a donation to the End Polio Now campaign of Rotary International in your name. So give him another round of applause. don't know how you feel about our former Speaker of the House, Kevin McCarthy, but we can thank him for that continuing resolution which averted the cancellation of our next week's speaker. So the crew from USS Cincinnati is in town next week from San Diego, California, and they will be our presentation next week. Make sure, Deborah, you make your reservation for that meeting by Friday, tomorrow at 5 p.m. Committee meetings today, membership review in the President's room to your right, environmental sustainability to your left. Make it a great day, create hope in the world. Meeting adjourned.